The Tudor court is a world of ghosts, not the spirits of the dead, but the ghosts of the unborn. They haunt the tapestries in the great halls, they linger in the quiet of the royal chapels, and they scream in the silent, desperate prayers of a king. They are the ghosts of sons, the sons that Catherine of Aragon carried but could not keep, the sons that Anne Boleyn promised but could not provide, the son that Jane Seymour delivered only to die herself. For nearly a century, the entire political, religious, and military destiny of England, and indeed the world, was dictated by one single, agonizing biological problem: the desperate, all-consuming need for a healthy male heir. It was a problem that sent two queens to their ruin, tore a kingdom from its faith, and forged a new, defiant English identity in a crucible of chaos. It was a problem of biology, but it was felt as a crisis of the soul. But what if it wasn't a problem of the soul? What if it wasn't God's judgment, or a Spanish curse, or the fault of unlucky queens? What if it was just a medical condition? A condition that, in an age of superstition and prayer, could have a scientific solution. Let us imagine a man, a physician at the court of Henry VIII. Let's call him Dr. Alistair Finch. He is a man of the Renaissance, a humanist who reads the newly rediscovered texts of the ancient world. But he is also a man of his time, a student of the strange new sciences of alchemy and botany. In the 1520s, as the king's great matter begins to tear the realm apart, Dr. Finch is studying the bizarre and wonderful plants arriving on ships from the newly discovered Americas. Among them, a rare and unassuming orchid said by the natives to have properties related to vitality and masculine essence. Working in secret, in a small, cluttered laboratory filled with bubbling retorts and strange herbal charts, he combines a tincture from this orchid with alchemical compounds. He creates an elixir, a tonic. It is a wild, desperate gamble, a fusion of ancient learning and New World mystery. He presents it to the king not as a guaranteed cure, but as a humble offering, a potential aid to the king's vigor, a way to help God's will be done. The king, a man who would try anything, agrees. This is a story not of a pivot point, but of a cure. A story that asks the most fundamental what if of the entire Tudor era. What if the problem that defined them, the problem of male succession, was simply solved? The year is 1525. Queen Catherine of Aragon, a woman in her 40s, worn down by years of miscarriages and stillbirths, is pregnant again. The court watches with a familiar, pitying dread. But this time is different. The king has been taking Dr. Finch's strange, bitter tonic for months. The pregnancy holds. The queen feels a strength she has not felt in years, and in the spring of 1526, she gives birth. Not to a girl who lives, not to a boy who dies, but to a strong, healthy, screaming son. The explosion of joy is a political earthquake. They name him Henry, Prince of Wales. The Tudor dynasty is secure. King Henry VIII, a man whose ego is as vast as his kingdom, is ecstatic. He is vindicated. God has not cursed him. He is a virile and blessed king. His wife, the noble Catherine, has given him his heir. His world is perfect. And in that moment of perfection, the entire course of English history is rewritten. The great matter, the king's desperate need to annul his marriage to Catherine, evaporates. There is no need. His marriage has been blessed with a son. The engine of the English Reformation, a king's dynastic desperation, has just been switched off. What happens to the players in this new, stable world? First, Catherine of Aragon. She is transformed from a tragic, aging queen into the revered mother of the future king. Her position is unassailable. She is the living symbol of the powerful, permanent alliance with her nephew, the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. She lives out her days as a beloved and deeply influential figure, guiding her son's education in the devout, traditional Catholic faith. Second, Anne Boleyn, the brilliant, fiery, ambitious woman who was, in 1526, beginning to capture the king's heart. What happens to her now? The king is still captivated by her, certainly. He pursues her, but his pursuit lacks the frantic, world-breaking desperation. He does not need her to give him a son, he already has one. So when Anne makes her famous gamble, refusing to be his mistress, demanding to be his queen, it is a gamble that fails. The king, with no need to move heaven and earth, will not offer her the crown. She is a fascinating diversion, but she is not a necessity. Perhaps she becomes his mistress for a time, a celebrated favorite, before being married off to a powerful nobleman. Or perhaps, holding out for a prize that she can now never win, her ambition sours and she fades from the center of court life. Either way, the woman who was the catalyst for a revolution becomes a historical footnote. Her daughter Elizabeth is never born. Third, the Church. With no need for an annulment, there is no break with Rome. England remains a Catholic nation. The Pope is still the head of the Church. The dissolution of the monasteries, that vast and violent seizure of wealth, never happens. The great abbeys and priories, centers of learning, charity, and power, remain the largest landowners in the kingdom. This has a staggering effect on the very structure of English society. The new gentry class, the men who rose to power and influence by buying up cheap monastery land, never get their start. The engine of social mobility that the dissolution created is silent. England remains more feudal, more hierarchical, its society more rigid. And the great men of the Reformation are cut down before they can rise. Thomas Cromwell remains a skilled administrator in the household of Cardinal Wolsey, a brilliant man, but one who never gets the chance to remake the state in his own image. Thomas Cranmer remains a Cambridge scholar, a man with reforming ideas, but not the archbishop who will write the Book of Common Prayer. Thomas More, the great humanist, is never executed for treason. He lives out his days as a loyal servant of a Catholic king, his brilliant mind dedicated to the service of the Church, not defying it. Let us watch this new Tudor dynasty unfold. The cure, now known as perhaps the Tudor elixir or the king's remedy, becomes the most closely guarded secret of the state, a guarantee of dynastic survival held only by the royal physician and the monarch himself. When Prince Henry comes to age, he marries a Spanish or Austrian Habsburg princess, further cementing the alliance. The Tudor dynasty becomes thoroughly and permanently integrated into the great Catholic power structure of Europe. In the 1540s, King Henry VIII dies, a magnificent, confident patriarch, not the bloated, paranoid tyrant of our history. The crown passes smoothly and without incident to his son, a man in his early 20s who ascends the throne as King Henry IX.
Who is this new king? He is his mother's son. Raised by the pious Catherine of Aragon, educated by men like Thomas More, he is a devout, serious, and deeply conservative Catholic monarch. His reign is defined by stability and tradition. His England is a bastion of the old faith, a loyal daughter of Rome. When the Protestant Reformation sweeps across Germany and France, King Henry IX's England stands with Spain as a bulwark against it. Protestantism is seen not as a new interpretation of the faith, but as a vile heresy to be crushed. This England's place in the world is utterly transformed. The great enemy is no longer Catholic Spain, but the Protestant heretics and their French allies. The national narrative is not one of a small, defiant island nation standing alone against a Catholic superpower. It is the story of a powerful kingdom acting as a pillar of the international Catholic order. The Spanish Armada of 1588 is an impossibility. It never sails against England. Instead, we can imagine a scenario even more startling. English ships, under the command of a Catholic King Henry IX or his son, sailing as part of the Armada, in a grand Catholic crusade to crush the Protestant Dutch Republic. And the consequences stretch across the ocean. The colonization of North America is a different story. The great English waves of settlement in the 17th century were driven by religious dissenters, Puritans, Quakers, separatists, fleeing a Protestant church they felt was still too popish. In a Catholic England, these groups do not exist. There is no Mayflower. There is no city on a hill in Massachusetts. English colonization, if it happens at all, is a Catholic state-sponsored enterprise, more akin to the Spanish model. It is about claiming land for the crown and souls for the church. The unique DNA of American society, its fierce individualism, its religious pluralism, its democratic spirit, is never formed. The United States of America is a ghost. The cure worked. Dr. Finch's miraculous elixir saved the Tudor Dynasty. It gave Henry VIII his son, it spared England the chaos of the Reformation, and it prevented the succession crises that plagued his children. It created a world of order, stability, and continuity. But it is a world without an Elizabeth I, a world without a Shakespearean golden age, born from a new sense of national identity, a world without the English Bible, which did so much to shape the modern English language, a world without the rise of Parliament, which grew in power by feasting on the wealth of the church, a world without the defiant individualistic spirit that was forged in the fires of religious rebellion. The cure for male infertility was the poison for England's destiny. The biological problem that caused so much personal tragedy and political chaos was the very engine of its transformation. It was the grit in the oyster that produced the pearl. By solving the problem, by removing the struggle, the Tudors would have saved their family line, but they would have neutered their nation's future. The ghost of that perfect, healthy prince is a haunting reminder that sometimes, in the grand, messy story of history, a cure can be far more dangerous than the disease.
History is filled with unwritten chapters. If you enjoyed exploring this one, be sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss our journey into the next alternate timeline. Thanks for watching.